The massive holographic display aboard the galactic survey ship Eternal Seeker cast an eerie blue glow across Chief Xenobiologist Zara Vex's iridescent scales. She blinked her 4 eyes in rapid succession, a gesture of extreme disbelief among her species, as she reviewed the sensor data for the 15th time. "This cannot be correct," she whispered, her translator struggling to convey the mixture of awe and horror in her native tongue. "Run a full diagnostic on all sensor arrays." "Diagnostics complete, Chief Xenobiologist," the ship's AI responded in its characteristically calm tone. "All systems are functioning within normal parameters. The readings are accurate." Zara Vex's tail coiled tightly around her chair's support beam, an unconscious stress response. The planet rotating slowly on the display before her defied everything she knew about the development of intelligent life. Designated as SO03 by the Galactic Survey Corps, it was, by any reasonable standard, a nightmare world. "Display environmental parameters," she commanded, her voice barely steady. The hologram shifted, overlaying the blue-green world with streams of data that made her scales ripple with distress. Surface gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, nearly twice what most spacefaring species evolved under. Atmospheric pressure, a crushing 101.325 kilopascals. Temperature variations that would shatter the exoskeletons of half the Galactic Council's member species, and the radiation levels. Zara Vex's secondary heart nearly stopped when she saw those readings. Yet there it was, undeniable evidence of not just life, but an advanced technological civilization. Cities sprawled across continents. Vessels plied the treacherous oceans. Primitive spacecraft orbited the Deathworld, and communication signals radiated outward into space. "First Officer Clarix," she called out, her voice stronger now as her scientific training took over. "Please join me on the observation deck." The ship's first officer arrived moments later, his crystalline form catching the light from the holographic display. Clarix's species had evolved on a low-gravity world of perfect stability, where the most severe weather was an occasional light mist. He took one look at the sensor readings, and his crystalline structure dimmed noticeably. "The inhabitants," he began, his crystalline resonance wavering. "They live on the surface, not in protected habitats." "Correct," Zara Vex confirmed, bringing up footage captured by their long-range observers. "They build their dwellings right on the ground, in regions that experience regular seismic activity. They construct floating cities on their world's violent oceans. They even maintain settlements in regions that regularly drop below freezing." The footage showed humans going about their daily lives, walking under open sky, breathing the dense atmosphere as if it were nothing, their bodies moving easily under the crushing gravity. A group of young humans were engaged in what appeared to be recreational activity, deliberately throwing themselves off a cliff attached to elastic cords. "Are they insane?" Clarix asked, his crystalline structure vibrating with confusion. "No," Zara Vex replied, her scientific curiosity now fully engaged. "They're adapted. This is their normal. Everything that would kill us instantly is just background to them. Look at this." She brought up footage of a human settlement recovering from what their monitoring systems had classified as a catastrophic storm. The humans were already rebuilding, working in the open air, lifting materials that would crush most species, seemingly unconcerned by the residual radiation from their star. "We need to contact the Council immediately," Clarix said, his tone serious. "This changes everything we thought we knew about the development of intelligent life." "Agreed," Zara Vex responded, already composing her preliminary report. "But there's something else we need to consider." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "These humans haven't just survived on a death world. They've thrived. They've turned conditions that would kill most species into their playground. And now they're on the verge of developing FTL travel. You think they could be dangerous?" Clarix's crystalline form pulsed with concern. "I think," Zara Vex said, watching footage of humans conducting what appeared to be combat training in an Arctic environment, that we need to be very careful about how we approach them. Not because they're dangerous, but because they're incredibly capable. Think about it. A species that considers these conditions normal, that has evolved to treat what we call survival situations as everyday occurrences. She let the implications hang in the air. The footage showed more humans, now scaling a sheer cliff face in what appeared to be a recreational activity, their bodies moving with casual confidence under conditions that would spell instant death for most species. "Prepare a priority transmission to the Council," she ordered, her scientific excitement barely contained. Classification: urgent. Subject: discovery of intelligent life on Class 13 Deathworld. And Clorix: yes, Chief Xenobiologist. Request permission to establish first contact. I believe we've just discovered something extraordinary, a species that doesn't just survive the impossible. They make it look easy. As the Eternal Seeker maintained its observation position, Zaravex continued to watch the humans going about their lives on their deadly world. She couldn't help but wonder how the galaxy would change once these remarkable Deathworlders joined the galactic community. One thing was certain: nothing would ever be quite the same again. The United Earth Defense Force headquarters buzzed with controlled chaos as news of the alien vessel's approach spread through its corridors. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the observation deck, watching storm clouds gather over the Pacific. The same windows that would have shattered under such atmospheric pressure on most inhabited worlds in the galaxy merely collected beads of rain. "They're requesting permission to land, Commander," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his tablet displaying a stream of translated alien communications. "Their ship apparently isn't rated for our atmosphere. They're asking if we have any low-gravity facilities." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The briefings from the past week had prepared them for this. Their visitors found Earth's conditions extremely challenging. "Direct them to Landing Zone Echo. We've modified the hangar's environmental controls to their specifications." The alien vessel descended with painful slowness, its hull gleaming under Earth's harsh sunlight. Chen had seen the preliminary reports. These beings evolved on worlds that humans would consider paradises. Perfect temperature, minimal gravity, no extreme weather. She wondered how they'd react to meeting humans face to face. Hours later, Chen stood in the modified conference room, watching the alien delegation enter with what could only be described as extreme caution. Their environmental suits looked more like mobile life support systems, complex machinery whirring constantly to protect them from Earth's lethal conditions. Chief Xenobiologist Zaravex led the group, her scaled form visible through the suit's transparent sections. Behind her, First Officer Clorix's crystalline body sparkled even through his protective gear. They moved as if expecting the floor to collapse beneath them at any moment. "Welcome to Earth," Chen said warmly, her words processed through their translation systems. "I hope the gravity adjustments in this room are more comfortable for you." "They are. Adequate," Zaravex replied, her four eyes blinking in what Chen had learned was an expression of nervous respect. "Though I must admit, Commander Chen, even with the modifications, your world is challenging for us." A deep rumble shook the building slightly, a minor tremor, barely worth noting by human standards. The alien delegation froze in their tracks, their suits' stabilization systems whirring frantically. "Just a small earthquake," Chen assured them quickly. "Nothing to worry about. We get them all the time here in the Pacific Rim. You consider planetary instability normal." Clorix's crystalline form dimmed noticeably, his translator struggling to convey his disbelief. "Well, yes. In fact, we've engineered our structures to handle much stronger seismic activity. Would you like to see our architectural designs? They're quite fascinating from an engineering perspective." The aliens exchanged looks that Chen interpreted as a mixture of horror and amazement. She'd been briefed on their physiologies. Zaravex's species evolved on a world with 1/3 Earth's gravity and perfect atmospheric stability, while Clarix's people came from a crystalline planet where the most severe weather was an occasional light breeze. Perhaps, Zarevex said carefully, we could first discuss how your species has adapted to these conditions. Our preliminary observations suggest that humans regularly engage in activities that would be fatal to most known species. Chen nodded, pulling up a holographic display of Earth's various biomes. Of course, though I should mention, what you consider adaptation, we just call living. Here, let me show you something interesting. She brought up footage of the previous week's Everest expedition. The aliens watched in stunned silence as humans climbed the world's highest peak, their bodies functioning in conditions that would kill most species in minutes. This is recreational, Clarix asked, his crystalline structure vibrating with what might have been fear. For some, yes, humans have always pushed boundaries, sought out challenges. It's part of who we are. A warning light flashed on the wall. The building's weather monitoring system. Chen checked the readout and frowned slightly. I apologize, but we may need to cut this meeting short. There's a Category 4 hurricane approaching the coast. A hurricane. Zarevex's scales rippled with alarm. Surely we must evacuate immediately. Chen smiled reassuringly. Oh, no need for evacuation. This building is rated for Category 5 storms. We'll just activate the outer shields and continue our discussion. Would you like to observe our weather control center? It's quite impressive how we track and manage these storms. The aliens stared at her, their body language conveying complete disbelief. Here was a human, casually discussing staying in the path of what they considered a planetary-scale disaster, treating it as nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Commander Chen, Zarevex said slowly, her scientific curiosity apparently overriding her fear, I'm beginning to understand why your species has thrived here. What we see as impossible conditions, you see as opportunities. Where we see barriers, you see challenges to overcome. That's a very insightful observation, Chen replied, leading them toward the Weather Control Center. Though from our perspective, we're not overcoming anything extraordinary. This is just home. As they walked, Chen noticed the aliens watching her movements with fascination. The casual way she handled Earth's gravity, how she breathed the dense atmosphere without thought. To them, every step she took would be considered a feat of extraordinary endurance. Tell me, Zarevex asked, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. When your people finally venture out into the galaxy, how do you think you'll adapt to worlds that are safer than Earth? Chen paused, considering the question. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the storm clouds gathering, nature preparing to unleash forces that would devastate most civilizations. To her, it was just another Tuesday. I suspect, she said finally, that we'll find ways to challenge ourselves, no matter where we go. It's not about survival for us anymore. It's about pushing boundaries, seeing what's possible. That's what humans do. We take the impossible and make it routine. The building shuddered as the first winds of the hurricane reached them. Chen smiled at her guests, noting their anxiety. Now, who'd like to see how we ride out storms that could level cities? I think you'll find our solutions quite innovative. The hurricane hit with a force that made the alien delegation's environmental suits vibrate. Inside the UEDF's Weather Control Center, Commander Chen watched her guests' reactions with careful attention as the massive windows showed the storm's fury in terrifying clarity. Current wind speeds at 145 miles per hour, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Storm surge approaching 15 feet. All coastal defense systems functioning at optimal levels. Zarevex pressed closer to the reinforced windows, her four eyes wide with a mixture of terror and fascination. Outside, trees bent nearly horizontal in the wind, and rain fell in sheets so thick they looked solid. To most species in the galaxy, this level of atmospheric violence would signal an extinction-level event. Your structures, she said, her translator struggling with her rapid speech, they can withstand this level of force. The building's rated for much worse, Chen replied, checking another set of readings. Though we might want to step back from the windows. Not because they'll break, she added quickly, seeing the alien's alarm, but because what's coming next is quite spectacular. As if on cue, a bolt of lightning split the sky, so close it made the air crackle with electricity. The alien delegation jumped collectively, their suits' stabilization systems working overtime. Clyrix's crystalline form had dimmed to nearly transparent. "That discharge," he said, his voice vibrating with shock. "The energy readings are off our scales." "And you say this is common during storms like this?" "Absolutely." In fact, Chen was interrupted by an urgent alert from her command talent. Her expression shifted from casual confidence to focused intensity in an instant. "Rodriguez, what's the status of Coastal Defense Section 7? "Not good, Commander. The surge is higher than predicted. We're looking at potential breaches in the seawall. Local population is already moving to higher ground, but we've got people who couldn't evacuate in time." Chen finished, already moving toward the command station. She turned to their alien guests. "I apologize, but duty calls. You're welcome to observe from here, though I understand if you'd prefer to return to your gravity-adjusted quarters." To everyone's surprise, Zaravek stepped forward. "Perhaps we could help. Our ship's sensors might be able to provide more detailed atmospheric readings and our gravity manipulation technology." Chen's eyes lit up. "Actually, that could be extremely useful. Rodriguez, get them linked into our sensor network. Zaravek, would your ship be able to create a localized gravity field? Something to help control the storm surge?" In these conditions, Clyrix interjected, his crystalline form pulsing with concern. "Our ship wasn't designed to operate in such extreme." "We can do it," Zaravek interrupted, her scales shimming with determination. "We'll need to modify our field generators, but the principles should work. Though we'll need someone to help us calibrate the equipment in Earth's gravity." "I'll go," Chen said immediately. "Rodriguez, coordinate the ground teams. I'll help our friends with their modifications." What followed was a crash course in cross-species cooperation. In the alien ship's adjusted environment, Chen found herself floating easily in the reduced gravity while helping them reconfigure their technology. The aliens watched in amazement as she casually handled tools that would have required mechanical assistance on their worlds. "Your natural strength," Zaravek observed as Chen single-handedly moved a gravity field generator. "It's remarkable. On our world, this equipment requires a team of 4 and mechanical assistants. And your technology is incredible," Chen replied, securing the generator. "We've been trying to develop gravity manipulation for decades, though I guess when you evolve in low gravity, you have to master it pretty quickly." A massive thunderclap shook the ship, making the aliens flinch. Chen checked her tablet. "Storms intensifying. How close are we?" "Field generators at 92% alignment," Clyrix reported, his crystalline form glowing brighter with focused energy. "But Commander, once we activate this, the ship will be fully exposed to your world's conditions. Our shields will be diverted to the gravity field. Then we'll just have to work fast," Chen said, her confident smile never wavering. "Ready when you are." The next hour was a testament to what different species could achieve together. The alien ship's gravity fields, precisely calibrated, helped control the storm surge, while human disaster response teams evacuated the remaining civilians. Chen moved between the ship and the ground teams, equally comfortable in both environments, bridging the gap between the two species. "Energy reserves at 15%, Clyrix warned as another lightning bolt lit up the sky. "We cannot maintain the field much longer." "Just a few more minutes," Chen replied, watching the last evacuation vehicles move to safety. "Your technology and our experience with these storms, we make a pretty good team." Zaravek's scales rippled in what Chen had learned was agreement. "We protect your people with our technology, while you show us how to operate in conditions we thought impossible." Perhaps this is what the galaxy has been missing. the combination of different evolutionary advantages. The storm continued to rage, but its threat had been neutralized by the unprecedented cooperation between the species. As Chen helped the aliens power down their gravity fields, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. These beings, who had initially seen Earth as a death world, had just helped protect it, while learning that what they saw as fatal conditions could become manageable with the right perspective and cooperation. "You know," Chen said as they watched the storm begin to abate, "there's an old Earth saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' My ancestors learned to survive here by adapting and innovating. Maybe now, working together, we can all learn to thrive in places we never thought possible." The aliens watched through their protective suits as humans began the process of cleanup and rebuilding, already treating the massive storm as nothing more than a temporary inconvenience. They were beginning to understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their physical adaptation to their death world. It was their unshakable conviction that any challenge could be overcome with enough determination and ingenuity. 2 weeks after the hurricane, the Eternal Seeker's observation deck had been converted into an impromptu cultural exchange center. Commander Chen sat across from Zaravex, both of them watching a holographic display of the galaxy's known habitable worlds. The room's gravity was set to a compromise between Earth normal and the aliens' preference, uncomfortable for both species, but manageable. "So you're telling me," Chen said, gesturing to a particular cluster of worlds, "that most spacefaring civilizations evolved on planets with gravity less than half of Earth's, and virtually no extreme weather events." "Correct," Zaravex replied, her scales shifting in what Chen now recognized as contemplative movement. "Until discovering Earth, our xenobiologists believed that was a prerequisite for developing advanced technology. The energy cost of moving in higher gravity alone should have made industrial development nearly impossible. Yet here we are," Chen smiled, taking the sip from her coffee, a beverage that would have been lethal to most galactic species due to its caffeine content. "Though I have to admit, your gravity manipulation technology is incredible. The applications for space travel alone." She trailed off as a priority alert flashed across her tablet. At the same moment, the alien ship's sensors began emitting a series of urgent tones. Clarix rushed onto the observation deck, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Chief Xenobiologist, we're detecting a massive gravitational anomaly approaching the solar system," he reported, bringing up a new holographic display. "It appears to be some kind of spatial distortion, unlike anything in our records." Chen leaned forward, studying the readings. "Our deep space monitoring stations are picking it up too. Whatever it is, it's big. And it's heading straight for Earth." The hologram showed a swirling vortex of space-time, warping the very fabric of reality around it. According to the readings, it was moving at speeds that should have been impossible, defying known physics. "This is unprecedented," Zaravex said, her scientific curiosity overtaking her concern. "The gravitational forces involved, they would tear apart any natural object. Yet it's maintaining cohesion. How long until it reaches Earth?" Chen asked, already sending alerts to UEDF command. "At current velocity, approximately 72 hours, Clarix responded. "But our models suggest it will begin affecting Earth's gravitational field much sooner. The consequences could be catastrophic." Chen's tablet lit up with incoming reports. Already, sensitive instruments around the world were detecting minute changes in local gravity. "We're seeing effects now. Slight variations, but they're growing stronger. Your world's already significant gravity, combined with these distortions." Zaravex's scales had darkened with worry. "The tectonic stress alone could trigger global earthquakes, and if it disrupts your planetary magnetic field, then we've got about 3 days to figure out how to stop it," Chen said with characteristic human determination. "Your people understand gravity manipulation better than anyone in the galaxy. We know how to survive and operate in extreme conditions. Together, maybe we can find a solution." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. The Eternal Seeker's crew worked to modify their gravity field generators to a scale never before attempted, while human scientists and engineers contributed their experience with operating technology under extreme conditions. The main problem, Clerics explained during an emergency briefing, is that our gravity manipulation technology was never designed to work at these scales. The power requirements alone. What if we didn't try to counter the anomaly directly? Chen suggested, studying the latest simulations. On Earth, we often work with natural forces rather than against them. During the hurricane, we didn't stop the storm. We redirected its energy. Zaravex's scales brightened with sudden understanding. Like a gravitational aikido. Instead of opposing the anomaly's force, we could guide it, Chen finished. Your gravity technology, combined with the natural gravitational wells of the solar system. It could work. Clerics's crystalline form brightened, but the calculations would have to be perfect. The slightest error could tear Earth apart. Then we better not make any errors, Chen said, pulling up Earth's global defense network. We've got the entire planet's computing power at our disposal, and your ship's quantum processors. Time to put them to work. As they began their preparations, Chen couldn't help but notice how smoothly the two species now worked together. The aliens still needed their environmental suits to handle Earth conditions, but they no longer flinched at every tremor or storm. Meanwhile, human engineers had quickly adapted to working with the aliens' gravity-manipulated environments, their natural strength and endurance proving invaluable in modifying the alien technology. You know, Zaravex said as they watched humans and aliens working side by side, when we first discovered Earth, we thought we'd found an impossible world. Now I'm beginning to think we found exactly what the galaxy needed, a species that doesn't believe in impossible. Chen nodded, reviewing the latest calculations for their desperate plan. Let's hope that comes in handy, because we're about to attempt something that both our species would have considered impossible just a few weeks ago. Above them, the gravitational anomaly continued its approach, invisible to the naked eye, but growing stronger with each passing hour. The greatest test of human-alien cooperation was about to begin, and failure would mean the end of the world that most species called a death trap, but humanity simply called home. The gravitational anomaly loomed at the edge of the solar system, its invisible presence now detectable even by civilian instruments. On Earth, the effects were becoming impossible to ignore. Tides had shifted dramatically. Seismic activity was increasing worldwide, and the planet's magnetic field had begun to fluctuate in ways that made both human and alien scientists deeply uncomfortable. Commander Chen stood in the Eternal Seeker's modified command center, now a hybrid of human and alien technology. The ship hung in high Earth orbit, surrounded by a hastily assembled fleet of human spacecraft and additional alien vessels that had arrived in response to the crisis. Final gravity generator calibrations complete, Clerics reported, his crystalline form glowing with focused energy. Though I must note, we're pushing the technology far beyond its designed parameters. Story of human history, Chen replied, checking the synchronized data feeds from Earth's defense grid. Nothing's ever operated within design parameters when we really need it. Zaravex monitored the gravitational readings, her scales shifting colors with rapid calculations. The anomaly's approach is accelerating. We're detecting quantum fluctuations that shouldn't be possible in normal space. Define normal, Chen said with a grim smile. Ready to begin primary sequence. All stations, report. The responses came in from around the ship and across the hastily assembled fleet. Humans and aliens working in perfect synchronization, each species compensating for the other's limitations. The aliens' advanced technology was being pushed to its limits, while human operators worked in conditions that would have killed most species in the galaxy. You realize, Zaravex said quietly as they made their final preparations, that even if our calculations are perfect, the gravitational forces involved. No ship has ever survived exposure to such conditions. Chen nodded, understanding the unspoken concern. That's why the Eternal Seeker will be coordinating from maximum safe distance. My team and I will take the modified gravity generators to the primary focal point. Commander, Clarix's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. The stresses at the focal point will be beyond lethal, even in your environmental suits. Our bodies evolved to handle extreme conditions. Chen interrupted gently. We can survive long enough to get the job done. Your technology, our resilience. It's why we make such a good team. The next hour was a blur of activity. Chen and her team boarded their modified vessel, now equipped with the aliens' gravity manipulation technology. The Eternal Seeker coordinated with Earth's defense grid, preparing to channel the anomaly's enormous power. Approaching focal point, Rodriguez reported from the navigation station. Outside their viewports, space itself seemed to twist, the stars blurring as gravitational forces mounted. Warning alerts screamed across every panel. Hull integrity at 60%. Another officer called out. Structural reinforcement fields holding, but the stress is increasing exponentially. Chen felt the enormous pressure even through their ship's protection. Her teeth rattled, her bones ached, but she remained focused. On the main screen, she could see the gravitational anomaly approaching, a vast distortion in space that defied description. Gravity generators online, she reported to the Eternal Seeker, ready to initiate the sequence on your mark. Commander, Zaravex's voice came through with concern. We're detecting structural fatigue in your vessel's hull. At this rate, we'll hold together, Chen assured her, just like we always have. Ready when you are. The plan was beautiful in its complexity, using the aliens' gravity manipulation technology not to fight the anomaly, but to guide it. They would create a series of gravitational lenses, bending space itself to redirect the phenomenon safely around the solar system. Initiating primary sequence, Clarix announced. May whatever forces you believe in protect us all. The next few minutes were a testament to both species' capabilities. As the anomaly approached, the combined fleet executed their plan with perfect precision. The aliens' gravity generators created a complex network of spatial distortions, while human crews operated in conditions that would have torn most species apart. Chen's ship shuddered violently as they maintained position at the primary focal point. Warning systems screamed as the hull approached its structural limits, but they held their position, the human crew functioning even as the gravitational forces grew to impossible levels. It's working, Zaravex reported, her voice filled with wonder. The anomaly is responding to the gravitational matrix. Its trajectory is shifting. Through their viewports, Chen and her crew watched as space itself seemed to bend. The anomaly, drawn by their carefully calculated gravitational fields, began to curve away from its collision course with Earth. Hull breach on Deck 3, Rodriguez reported calmly, as if discussing the weather. Emergency containment holding. Just a few more minutes, Chen said through gritted teeth. The pressure was enormous now, threatening to crush them despite all their protection. Hold it together, people. We've survived worse. The anomaly passed through their network of gravitational lenses, its course altered degree by degree. The combined fleet maintained their positions despite the incredible forces involved, human endurance and alien technology working in perfect harmony. And then suddenly, it was over. The anomaly shot past the outer planets, its trajectory now carrying it safely away from the solar system. In its wake, space gradually returned to normal, the gravitational distortions fading away. All stations, report, Chen called out, finally allowing herself to breathe normally again. Multiple hull breaches, structural integrity compromised, Rodriguez reported. But we're alive. The anomaly has cleared the solar system, Zaravex confirmed. Its effects are diminishing rapidly. Earth is safe. In the aftermath, as rescue ships approached to evacuate Chen's damaged vessel, Zaravex's voice came through once more. Commander, she said, her translator struggling to convey her emotion. When we first discovered your world, we called it a death world. We couldn't understand how any species could survive. let alone thrive, in such conditions. And now, Chen asked, watching her crew already beginning repairs despite their injuries and exhaustion. Now we understand. What we saw as impossible conditions made you stronger. Where we saw limitations, you saw challenges to overcome. Your world isn't a death world. It's a crucible that forged something remarkable. Chen smiled, looking out at the combined fleet of human and alien ships. We all have our strengths, she said. Yours is technology that can bend space itself. Ours is refusing to accept that anything is truly impossible. Together, Zaravex finished. We can achieve things that neither of us could do alone. As the rescue ships docked, Chen reflected on how much had changed in just a few weeks. The aliens had arrived, seeing Earth as a death world, its conditions impossible for life. They were leaving with a new understanding, that what makes a world deadly or habitable isn't just its physical conditions, but the adaptations and determination of those who call it home. The galaxy would never be quite the same, and that, Chen thought, was probably a good thing.